Started. A very good morning to all the BVA members to this wonderful Saturday morning, and a wonderful information to share with all of you that today's session is also physically held at Rajaji Nagar in Bangalore. So that's a new thing we are trying to experiment. And one more announcement, as last time I have shared with you all, December 15 and 16, we have a physical session. It's about Valuation Month in 2023. It's a 2-day workshop near Jakkur, Bangalore. I request all the Bangalore members to take up this opportunity and block your calendar. And for all the outsiders, I request you to block your flight as well, so that you can come over and let's have a wonderful workshop in Bangalore. Now, I request Mr. Ravindra, can anyone from there introduce today's speaker?
Yeah, Shilpa.
Yeah.
It will echo.
Yeah. Just for now, shall I mute Mr. Jaideep?
Good morning, madam. I'd like to thank the Bangalore Valuers Association for giving me this opportunity to talk on the important topic, this network valuation. So, in terms of the scope of the presentation, I will be talking about how a distribution network plays a pivotal role in terms
Mr.
of...
Jaideep, one second. Mr. Ravindra, can you please introduce officially the speaker to us?
Voice is echoing, I'm getting messages.
Yeah, one of you can be on mute and the other person can. I'll go ahead and introduce the today's speaker.
Yeah, just a minute.
Shall I share my screen for the flyer?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Jaideep Chakravarthy. Jaideep Chakravarthy is a registered valuer under SFA category. He's a seasoned corporate finance professional with 16 years of work experience. He has stint with EY in business valuations, brands, distribution networks for leading businesses, particularly in South India. He also contributed in transfer pricing projects for MNC clients in EY. And also he had a short stint with Deutsche Bank in UK and Fitch Ratings, where he worked in the area of credit ratings for MNCs and Indian firms. He has an experience in investment management from Sundaram Mutual Fund and Patterson Securities. And about his educational backgrounds, he is an MBA in finance from University of Chicago, USA, and he was placed on Dean's Honor list twice for being outstanding academic student. He also has an MSc in management from London School of Economics, a Master of Finance from University of Cambridge, UK. And he has received scholarship in all these institutions. And he also did his studies at Loyola College. With this, I hand over the session to Joy Chakravarthy.
And thank you, Mr. Jaideep, for flying over to Bangalore and enabling us to have a physical session and a physical conversation with you.
Thank you very much, madam. I'm grateful to the Bangalore Valuers Association for giving me this opportunity to talk on this important topic. I'm very grateful to all of you for holding this conference and giving me a chance to speak at your forum. So may I start with the presentation?
You can start, but we are actually seeing both your first slide and the next slide also. So in display settings, you may have to change some. While this is okay for us.
In the meantime, I'll manage that. You continue with
please go ahead, Mr. Jaideep.
Thank you. So, in terms of scope of today's presentation, I just want to talk about how I'm going to structure the presentation today. So, a distribution network is an intangible asset that represents a significant holding for its owner, and it can play a pivotal role in helping this owner of the distribution network gain or extract premium from another company which does not possess a distribution network. Subsequently, I will be talking about the benefits of this sort of that emanate from owning a distribution network, which helps me build a case for how to valuing a distribution network. Subsequently, I will use the with and without methodology to value a distribution network of a hypothetical company. I will also critically appraise this methodology in terms of its drawbacks and its disadvantages so that you'll have a very balanced understanding of the method and the ultimate outcome. I will also then talk about why other valuation methodologies may not be applicable and what are the opportunities that this sort of an valuation holds for finance professionals such as ourselves.
Mr. Jaideep, just one point. Normally, we have this kind of assignments individually, or it's a whole, whole brand valuation in that this is a point.
Madam, you can do it in two ways, madam. It can be an individual assignment. I myself have executed individual assignments for a standalone distribution network valuation. But I'm in this presentation, I'm also going to walk you through how to do a brand come distribution network valuation as well. So in terms of the background, a couple of decades ago, that is around the year 2000, the Indian regulators were concerned about two things in the Indian insurance sector. First, it was a monopoly where LIC in life insurance and GIC in non-life insurance were the sole players. So the regulators felt that there had to be more choice and preferences for customers, which was not happening in the sector. The sector also lacked dynamism. Subsequently, the regulators also felt that the insurance penetration in India, measured as a percentage of GDP, was quite low. So it is this in this context that the IRDA came into being. So many foreign insurance companies wanted to enter the insurance sector, and they got into joint ventures with Indian players who already had a distribution network but did not have a brand or did not have a distribution, did not have the financial sophistication to sell insurance products. So the foreign insurer had a product, whereas the Indian player had a distribution network, and how to bring this together. So that was the context for this distribution network valuation, which I'll be doing for an insurance company perspective. In terms of the topic relevance, many of you may be wondering that we live in the age of the internet. The internet is omnipresent in our lives. So why do you need a branch structure or a distribution network at all? Enjoys high visibility and traction in Indian market. They sell, according to television advertisements, they're selling policies with a sum assured of 1 crore rupees via the internet. But the fact remains that if you look at the motor industry, motor insurance industry, there you have truck operators and lorry owners for whom visiting the branch is of critical importance. So there, when they visit the branch personnel will interact with these bus owners and truck operators and provide assistance for claim settlement, which is very important. I'll be elaborating more about claim settlement in a few slides from now, but suffice it to say, it's exceedingly important that there is a branch network or a distribution network that is in place so that you can use this setup to sell products and settle claims in a rapid and swift manner. So during the course of today's presentation, I will be using the terms branch network and distribution network interchangeably, but they all mean the same thing. They represent an intangible asset in the hands of its owner. So in terms of 5 forces analysis, this was propounded by Michael Porter of Harvard Business School, And as the name suggests, it has 5 aspects or forces. So I'm going to do it from the perspective of the Indian insurance industry on the eve of liberalization around the year 2000. So if you look at that industry at that point of time, there was no rivalry among existing competitors, meaning there was only one monopolistic player. But there were new entrants were coming in. That is, as I already said, foreign insurers were allying themselves with Indian companies, Indian financial companies, so as to sell insurance products to customers. So there was a heightened threat of new entrants because new players were entering the market. So this boded well for the bargaining power of buyers, these customers such as yourself and myself. Because now, because of this intense competition in the industry, there was more choice and scope for our greater offerings for the customers. The customers would be able to get products at a very favorable price point. That is in terms of the prices and the premium that they had to pay. So the bargaining power of buyers came up significantly. Now, as far as supplier power is concerned in the Indian insurance industry, you have brokers, as all of you know. But you have brokers. But what happens is that these brokers enjoy a reasonable degree of power, but not in terms of not a large amount of power as compared to buyers. Finally, in terms of threat of substitute products, in terms of substitute products in India, sometimes we perceive insurance as an investment product, but that is not actually technically correct because it's a risk management product. So if you look at it from this perspective also, there is no threat of substitute products. And Warren Buffett coined this term economic moat. So this economic moat is a barrier to entry or something that gives a current player, say a LIC or a GIC, a competitive advantage over its new rivals who are entering the sector, such as say Bajaj Allianz or Tata AIG. These are the new players who are entering the sector. So the LIC GIC already had a strong product portfolio, which gave it a competitive advantage over the existing and the new entrants coming into the sector. So all this qualitative analysis that I'm doing, starting with the 5 forces analysis, will help you identify value drivers, which eventually go into the quantitative valuation process.
My request, Mr. Jaideep, is can you be slow because of the network connectivity, no?
Okay, no problem.
So sometimes we are not able to understand the point because of the network connectivity.
Okay, no problem, madam. So in terms of the joint venture between the Indian financier and the foreign insurer, it offered a unique selling proposition. Why? Because the foreign insurer has expertise across the world. Say you take AIG or Allianz, which are American and German companies respectively, they have been operating across different geographies and different economies. So they have an innovative product portfolio. But when it comes to a distribution network, they did not have it when they entered India. So the Bajaj Group, it entered into a strategic partnership with Allianz, has a strong distribution network within our country. So this became the unique selling proposition or USP, because one partner had a product portfolio, the other partner had a strong distribution network. So when both of them come together, there are synergies and complementarities. Therefore, you have better financial performance and greater customer satisfaction. That is why a distribution network in conjunction with an innovative product portfolio spells a lot of opportunities for all stakeholders concerned. That is not only the insurance companies, but the customer, the supplier, that is the broker, and even the regulators. So this whole concept of having a JV played a pivotal role in the development of India's general insurance and life insurance sectors. So what is the strength of a branch? So these Indian firms that are already in operation network, which represented the case of State Bank of India. It has 22,000 branches spread across a large country. Now, this sort of a branch network cannot be replicated and duplicated in a short span of time, or even over a 2 or 3 decade span of time, because branches take time to build. You have customers who will walk into the branch. You have to build customer relationships. Then you will have to have physical infrastructure to support their needs in terms of computers, furniture, and the like. So all this means that it's very difficult to replicate and duplicate a branch structure. And if you have something like 22,000 branches, it's even more difficult. As a person, this is quotation. Rome was not built in a day, meaning a great city like Rome cannot be created in one day. It takes a huge amount of time to create these sort of physical and intangible assets. So that is why a branch value, network valuation is of critical importance in today's world, in India at least. Many of you here will be familiar with the concept of cross-selling financial products, but I'm just going to talk about it in the specific context of the insurance sector and the financial sector in general. So many customers, as you know, will visit the branch. Now, some customers may even visit the branch on a daily basis. And once the customer footfall is very high, then it becomes quite easy to cross-sell products to this customer. So what is cross-selling? So you suppose you go to an SBI branch or an ICICI branch, the branch manager will not only talk about deposits. He will talk about life insurance, mutual funds, pension products, and non-life insurance, home loans. So many products he will talk about. And what happens is that when he talks about all these products, he is creating something like a financial supermarket, wherein he is able to sell a number of products bundled to one customer under the same roof. So this one customer does not have to go to LIC to get his life insurance. He does not have to go to ICICI Prudential to get his mutual fund. So he does not have to go to different companies to get a product. He can go to one branch. That is the power of a branch. You go to the branch and get all his product needs and wants satisfied. So that makes it life a lot easier. So when you have this sort of a branch network, it becomes easier to cross-sell financial products, which result in greater profits for the banking company. Next. So in terms of the valuation approach, as finance professionals, you all know there are three approaches to valuing a company: income approach, cost approach, and market approach. So I will be using the income approach and specifically the discounted cash flow method to compute the intrinsic value of a distribution network. So you will have to compute the present value of future benefits which arise from the distribution network. And in order to arrive at the present value, you will have to use the weighted average cost of. So as you all know, the capital asset pricing model, or CAPM, is used to determine the cost of equity. The formula for determining the cost of equity is the risk-free rate on a 10-year GSET of this benchmark bond of the Indian government. Now, this data can be got from the either RBI website or any other website such as investing.com. So then you have to compute the beta, which you can compute on your own from using data from moneycontrol.com, which gives you the beta, and then you multiply that with the equity market risk premium. Now, Professor Ashwath Damodaran of New York University, who's a practitioner and an academic of valuation, puts out the equity market risk premium for several countries, including India, in his website. He also constantly updates this number. So you can capture that data point from his website. Then you have to take into consideration the after-tax cost of debt. The formula for doing so is interest rate on debt multiplied by 1 less the effective tax rate. Then you have to use the debt equity ratio to weight the cost of equity and the cost of debt to arrive at the WACC, or the discount rate. So in terms of the debt equity ratio, some important points that I want to bring to your consideration. This is not a company valuation, not an enterprise value valuation, but a distribution network valuation. Furthermore, we are dealing with a newly created joint venture. Therefore, it is prudent and appropriate to have a discussion with the management and understand what is going to be the target debt equity ratio. Because when you start a new venture, it will take time for the capital structure to evolve and eventually stabilize. So you take into cognizance the target debt equity ratio and then use that to weight the cost of debt and the cost of equity to arrive at the WACC. So in terms of other approaches, you have the cost approach and the market approach, which could also have been considered. But I will tell you why I'm not using both these approaches. When you look at the cost approach, under its purview comes replacement cost method, where you undertake a valuation by computing the cost that will be incurred if you were to read. According to me, it was not logical for the following reason. For an insurer coming into India, he is talking to his Indian partner precisely because the Indian partner already has an existing distribution network. Why do you want to then dismantle this distribution network, create a new and recreate a new distribution network? It doesn't serve the purpose. That is why I thought it is not prudent to use the cost approach. Then the market approach. This is essentially a comparison-based approach where you use comps. But here I chose not to use this approach because it is difficult to find a precise comparable, like LIC and GIC were the sole players at that time in the Indian market. These are not appropriate comparables at all because they are vast, huge behemoths. So I didn't think it made sense to use the market approach. In terms of premium determination, what should not be done? So we are using the discounted cash flow method to arrive at the valuation in this case. But we are not using a FCFF, that is a free cash flow to firm approach, wherein I compute the FCFF, discount it at the weighted average cost of capital to arrive at enterprise value. Then in FCFF, you have to deduct the market value of debt from the enterprise value to arrive at the market value of equity. We are not doing that here. So please let me make that very clear at the outset. Then you have FCFP, that is free cash flow to equity. You discount that at the cost of equity to arrive at the market value of equity. That also we are not doing here. This is not an enterprise value or a equity valuation. We are doing a distribution network valuation. So therefore, it becomes imperative. So I now going to walk you through a concrete case study, which will give you an idea of how to go about doing a distribution network valuation from an insurance company perspective in around the year 2000. So in terms of preamble or background, many Indian hire purchase and leasing companies wish to enter the insurance business. And while these companies possess a strong distribution or branch network, they did not have the ability to sell insurance products to their customers. While then you have the foreign player who wanted a share of the Indian market. He wanted a new market to enter. We are a huge market, as everybody knows, a vast, heterogeneous market where you can go and sell your insurance products. But this foreign insurer did not have a pan-India branch or distribution network to sell his products. So each party had something, that is, they had with something, they were also without something. So this forms the basis of using the with and without methodology to value a distribution network.
Mr. Jaideep, 1 second. Can you come little to the laptop, or can you drive? Because, I'm getting the request that, in between voice is breaking a little bit, it's not clear.
Okay, madam. Okay, I moved it closer, madam.
It's better, much better and clearer.
Yeah. So in terms of the go-to-market strategy, what were the needs and wants from the perspective of the Indian hire purchase and leasing company and the foreign insurer? Specifically, the Indian hire purchase and leasing company already had a ready-made customer base who needed motor insurance products. But the hire purchase and leasing company did not know how to craft the motor insurance product and how to price the motor insurance product so that it would meet the needs of its customer. So clearly, the Indian company was without something and it needed the help of the foreign insurer to satisfy the needs and wants of the customer. In terms of the needs and wants of the foreign insurer company, the foreign insurer company had a very strong product portfolio, but it did not have a ready-made customer base and a branch network that it needed to sell these insurance products. So both parties had something, like it's already said, they were without something also. So there's some need, there's some sort of a business argument for a joint venture between both firms. So in terms of the rationale, the foreign insurer had product knowledge and industry expertise, while the Indian finance firm had a pan-India distribution network and a customer base. So a JV between both these parties represented a win-win scenario for both firms. So to use a tennis metaphor, game, set, and match, with the Indian partner, the foreign insurer can sell products in India, and without the Indian partner's distribution network and customer base, the foreign insurer could not have maximized profits. So clearly there is an advantage. So now moving on to a value driver analysis, wherein I will look at value drivers to understand how to do a distribution network valuation. So in terms of the income streams, those of you who are familiar with a life insurance company or a non-life insurance company's operations, you will know that they have underwriting operations as one stream of income and investment management as another stream of income. So what is underwriting? So when you start off, there is an insurance company which will have a business development team. They will go and meet potential or prospective customers and find out what are the needs and wants of that customer. Then they will come back and give data to the products team, which will create an insurance product for this customer. Then if there is an accident, like a car accident happens, or a vehicle accident happens, or a catastrophe happens, like a cyclone or a typhoon or some other earthquake or something like that, then you will have to pay settle the problems faced by the insured party whose vehicle may have been damaged. So what you have to do then, you have to get into claims. The claims department will then come into action. They will assess the damage of the vehicle and find out what is the money that has to be given as compensation to the vehicle owner. So this whole process is very laborious and very arduous. So you have to be very careful, because sometimes if the process is not handled properly, that this underwriting process is not handled properly, then it may go to court also, which is a big headache for all parties concerned. So this underwriting plays a pivotal role in managing risk and in generating premium income for the insurance company. Then the next stream of income is investment income. The premium collected by the insurance company is not going to be idle in some bank account. What they will do is that they will use this premium to invest in debt markets and equity markets and generate money and additional income for the insurance company. So tomorrow, if some problem happens, the insurance company will have a kitty from which it can give money to the damage, to the insured party whose assets may have been damaged due to a catastrophe or an accident. Now, this with and without model, it is difficult to capture the investment. I only use the underwriting operations part to do the valuation. So in terms of the first value driver, that is additional income. So if the Indian hire purchase and leasing company will have field officers, and as the name suggests, these are officers who are on the field. They go, they will talk to the customer, understand what is his income, what is his expenditure, how much cash flow is generating, and so on and so forth, of the risks and rewards of the customer buy an insurance product from the JP. So that once this data is given by the field officers, the foreign insurer can use this information to price and create an insurance product. So that becomes the first value add for the for this JV. So in terms of computation of additional income, let us assume that in year one, with the Indian partner, the JV could have earned rupees 3 lakh rupees. So now you suppose the foreign insurer had operated on its own, they may have earned only 1.8 lakh rupees. So the difference, that is 3 lakhs minus 1.8 lakhs, is 1.2 lakhs, which is the additional income that is being generated by this JV. So this difference becomes the value add of the hire purchase and leasing company to the foreign insurer. Therefore, it needs to be taken cognizance of in the valuation. Then in terms of the next header, next value driver is greater cost savings. So now without the Indian partner, the foreign insurer will have to incur additional costs such as claim settlement, sales and marketing, and credit appraisal. So what are these costs? I'll be talking about it in a short span of time from now. But now for the time being, without the Indian partner, the foreign insurer will have to incur these additional costs. But by allying with the Indian partner, the foreign insurer can avoid incurring these critical costs. So this is also with and without. With minus without is the cost advantage. In terms of claim settlement, I already spoke about how difficult and laborious the claim settlement process can be. And I would have hopefully conveyed to you that a significant amount of resources will have to be spent to address this whole claim settlement issue. So, and having a branch infrastructure or a dealership network makes life very easy to satisfy these sort of claim related issues. You cannot just go and file a claim online and expect the matter to be sorted out easily. It is not going to happen. So for that, you need to know you need a branch network, and it is quite likely that the JV will end up saving costs, as the foreign insurer would have in all likelihood have spent more money if it had operated on a standalone basis. Sales and marketing costs. Well, somebody once told me one has money to spend but not to waste. So this is a very important concept that plays a role in this sales and marketing cost. Now, once again, suppose you have this Allianz, which is a large German insurer, which entered the Indian market. Now, they may be a world-renowned brand overseas across the world, but in India, they were not very well-known at all. So they entered into a JV with the Bajaj Group, which, as you all know, has a renowned brand across our whole country. So by aligning itself with the Indian firm, the foreign insurer can avoid spending money excessively on sales promotions. So this represents cost savings. The foreign firm would have had to incur these costs on its own if it had operated on a standalone basis. So with the Indian partner, the company would have spent X. Without the Indian partner, the company would have spent more than X. So that more than X, the difference becomes the value add of the Indian hire purchase and leasing company to the foreign insurer, and it needs to be captured in the valuation. No. Then you also have relationship establishment cost. Many years ago, I want to narrate this personal anecdote. Many years ago, I had an opportunity to go to the house of a branch manager of an insurance company on Diwali. So as you would all expect, many of his customers came to his house and they greeted each other, as after all, it is Diwali. But more importantly, the branch manager and these customers got a chance to bond and build a strong relationship with each other, because they spoke about various things, like what problems they were facing in the business, how much income they were generating, what were their expenses, cash flows, and so on and so forth. So they were talking about so many other factors, and all this plays a very pivotal role in building a relationship. And you cannot, for a foreign insurer, he cannot come to India on day one and have this sort of a relationship. So that also is very important. That needs to be captured. Adds a lot of strength, because they can save this sort of money for when you're doing an insurance venture. Finally, credit appraisal. You're all finance professionals, so you will know that credit worthiness has to be arrived at. For that, you use cash flow metrics such as EBIT, interest cover ratio, debt service coverage ratio. You will be using all that. But beyond that, you also need to have the capacity to assess the business of the your customer. So you will have business cycles, as you all know. You have a peak phase, a trough. You will have an expansionary phase. You'll have a recessionary phase. There are so many aspects of a business cycle. So you will have to exercise business judgment to understand what is the impact of this business cycle on the customer's business as such, his cash flows as such. So all these factors will need to be taken cognizance of or considered while doing the credit appraisal. So the Indian firm will have an intimate knowledge of the credit worthiness of its customer. So this will represent a value add to the foreign insurance company. In terms of computing cost savings, I've created this hypothetical template. So for claim settlement, I've assumed that it is rupees 5 lakhs for the first year and for each of the 4 subsequent years. Sales and marketing savings is rupees 2.5 lakhs for the first year and 2.5 lakhs for the subsequent 4 years. And credit appraisal cost savings is 3 lakh rupees for each of the 5 years. These are expenses incurred by the foreign insurer in the absence of an Indian partner, and therefore it represents the value proposition offered by the Indian partner, Indian company. There is a hire purchase and leasing company to the foreign insurer. So in terms of cost savings, I would like to point out that this is not an exhaustive list. When you are doing a valuation with your customer for a branch network, please sit with your client and understand what are the cost savings that he is bringing to the table to the foreign company. And you must hopefully have grasped by now that a distribution network is part of a company. I concede that, but it has its own distinct identity and flavor. It is something that is its own kind of animal. Has its own customer relationships, its own marketing relationships. So many factors go into a distribution network. So it has its own distinct, it's an own intangible asset. Therefore, it becomes vital to drill down and comprehend the factors that drive value from a distribution network perspective. Now, moving on to capital expenditure benefits. When you start a new branch, you have to spend a lot of money and spend a lot of time and effort in creating a new branch. For instance, you will have to buy computers, furniture, and other physical infrastructure. You will have to also decide whether you are going to rent office premises or you're going to buy your own office space. So these are all capex related expenses, and these are all amount that the foreign insurer would have had to incur if it had operated on its own. So the size effect has this takes a considerable amount of time to have created. Therefore, you have to take into cognizance the fact that this will represent immense cost savings to the foreign insurer, and therefore there is a rationale for him, the foreign insurer, to enter into a business agreement, that is a JV, with an Indian hire purchase and leasing company, which already has a distribution network or structure in place. Now, the next concept that I'm going to talk about is economies of scale. Many of you may be wondering why, how do we know the optimum number of branches? That is, should it be 200? Should it be 10,000? Should it be 20,000? We don't know that. So I thought I would use this concept from economics called economies of scale to help you in this process. So suppose you have output or number of branches, in our case, graphed on the x-axis, and you have cost per unit graphed on the y-axis. So as you keep increasing your number of branches from 0 to say 100 or to x, as there is a letter x, as you can see in the graph, you will experience economies of scale. That is, you will have your cost will actually start coming down, because that is why the slope of the curve is negative. Then after you reach a particular level of branches, you will have constant returns to scale, meaning that your cost remains constant. Then after you go beyond this level, that is, you go beyond that number of branches as indicated by Y, you will have a disadvantageous position, meaning diseconomies of scale. That is, the cost will start increasing. So please sit with your client and identify the number of branches which should be around or near this figure of X. So how do we do the CapEx modeling? So I have assumed that in the first year, there are 20 new branches are going to be created. And the CapEx per new branch is 2 lakh rupees. So the total CapEx spent in year 1 is 40 lakh rupees, which is 2 lakhs multiplied by 20. Now in year 2, 10 new branches are going to be opened. So you already had 20 in the first year. You have 10 new branches now. So you'll have a total of 30 branches in year 2. But for the 10 new branches, the CapEx per new branch remains at 2 lakh rupees. So 10 multiplied by 2 lakhs results in 20 lakh rupees, which is your CapEx savings. So you arrive at this CapEx by multiplying the CapEx per new branch with the number of new branches you have opened. Now, some of you who are very analytically minded here will wonder what maintenance capital expenditure. That is the amount you need to include that in the valuation. It's very easy to include it. I have not done it for the sake of simplicity, but you can do it. So please do. If you feel that is very relevant and is a significant cost, please include that also in this template. The next key value driver is working capital. So the Indian hire purchase and leasing company will have a very strong relationship with its customer. And therefore, because of that, it will be able to collect its dues from its customer in a shorter span of time. So suppose, let me give you a concrete numerical example. Suppose it takes the foreign insurer 2 months to collect the premium. But the Indian company, because of its deep relationship with the customer, can collect this money in 1
Mr. Jaideep, I think you went on mute. We can't hear you.
So, madam, do you want me to repeat this whole slide? I can do that. It's not a problem. If you miss something.
Yeah.
Please repeat.
So, like I said, yeah. So this is a hypothetical valuation template where all figures are in rupees except discount factors. I've taken you through all these items: additional income or additional sales, cost advantages, capital expenditure benefit, and working capital advantage. If you add up these numbers, you will get 51.8 lakhs for year 1 and 31.8 lakhs for the next 4 subsequent years. So this represents the savings to the foreign insurance firm because it is entered into a JV with an Indian company which can give these benefits. Then you have to, I've assumed a tax of 30% and deducted 30% tax to arrive at a post-tax value of cash flow of 36.26 lakhs for year 1 and 22.26 lakhs for the 4 subsequent years. Then I assume a WACC of 12% to compute the discount factor for each year. Then I multiply the discount factor for each year with the post-tax cash flow value for each year to arrive at the present value of cash flow. Then once I have this for 5 years, I just add it up all together to arrive at the valuation figure of 92.74 lakh rupees.
Mr. Jaideep,
So now,
basic doubt. This is the
yes, madam.
with and without, right? Actually, it's not with separately, without separately.
Yeah, with and without.
But with and without is
No, it is with and without.
the intention of with and without is taken, right?
Voice is breaking, madam.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, madam, you're absolutely right. So moving on to a two-way sensitivity analysis. As you all know that you can use the table function in Excel to do a sensitivity analysis, which is what I have done. So I've assumed that the first year additional income is one factor that is important, and the next important factor is first year branches. So I assume that first year additional income ranges from 1.2 lakh rupees to 1.5 lakh rupees. I assume that the first year branches ranges from 20 to 50. So I do simulations and scenarios and I arrive at the valuation for these different simulations. So the base case valuation of 92.74 lakhs is highlighted in yellow, and the best case valuation is 97.58 lakhs. A word of caution or a caveat. When we do this hypothetical valuation, the key value driver is capital expenditure savings that arises from branch creation. Now, this makes logical sense because it is the branch which is mainly driving the value. But this may not always be the case. This is only true in terms of the insurance sector in 2000. Other factors such as working capital, cost savings could also have played a pivotal role in driving value. So please do the 5 forces analysis and the value driver study to identify the key value drivers. And then please also do a sensitivity analysis when you're executing an assignment for this product line which will give you insights as to how the valuation varies. Now, there is also another concept called tax amortization benefit or TAB. Now, this is a very highly contested issue and constitutes a gray area. It constitutes a gray area for the following reason. While distribution networks are not specifically mentioned, the benefits that you are getting in terms of higher income, lower costs, capex savings, and working capital benefits all originate from customer relationships. And this customer relationship comes because of the distribution network. So some will argue that TAB should not be used. Some will say TAB should be used. So if you're doing a distribution network valuation, please identify this factor, understand where the value is coming from, and also please talk to an expert in this topic who will give you the correct guidance. This is only a hypothetical construct. So what is the valuation purpose? You may be wondering, why do I need to do this? So when the German insurer Allianz entered India, they paid an upfront premium of rupees 80 crores to the Bajaj Group. And market news that is based on newspaper articles, what I gathered was that 50% or 40 crores was for the life insurance business, and another 50% or balance 40 crores was for the non-life insurance business. Now, I will personally not be surprised at all if the distribution network was part of this deal consideration. So in other words, the upfront premium of 80 crores paid to the Bajaj Group by Allianz would in all likelihood have factored the benefits of Bajaj's distribution network. Yet another application. So this is only one application. Now you must have all be familiar with this concept of bank assurance, wherein banks use their network of branches to sell their products to customers. So what happens is that some time ago, Bank of India, which had 5,084 branches at that point of time, inked a bank assurance agreement with Bajaj Allianz to sell the latter's products. So because of its vast distribution network and its customer base, Allianz Bajaj tapped into Bank of India. So if a consideration was transferred from Bank of
Jaideep, your voice is breaking. Mr. Jaideep, your voice is breaking. We can't hear.
Valuation can be very useful there also. Appraisal. Yes, sir. Yes, madam. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Madam, can you hear me now?
It's better.
Mute what? Mute it, is it?
Yes, you can just, let's see.
I talk on this.
I talk this. Talk this. Talk this. It's not you. What to do in this new voice? In this new voice. Where is the system? Where is the system? Where is the system?
Mr. Jaideep, you can continue the existing system, but you can just that particular moment voice was breaking, but you can continue.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah, in fact, now it is loud and clear when you switched off the video. This is much better.
Okay.
Yeah, switch off the video.
I've switched off. So why has, maybe you're wondering now, why has brand not been included? So the Indian hire purchase and leasing company will have a good brand like Bajaj, and that will play a pivotal role in helping it increase revenues and reduce costs. The foreign insurance company will also have a world-renowned brand. So I didn't think it was appropriate to say only one company has a stronger brand and the other company does not have a stronger brand. So that is why I did not use this brand. I did not factor it in the valuation. But in a few slides from now, I'm going to do a brand cum distribution network valuation where I will factor in the brand effect also. So the higher in revenue and the lower cost that the JV has enjoyed is because of the brand. So in some sense, the brand effect is captured, but it is being done in an implicit manner and not in an explicit manner. So now human resource costs. As you all know, human resource costs such as hiring people, giving them salaries and wages, expending money on training costs are very important. But if you look at both parties could easily have hired people to hit the ground running and then just train them and then ensure that they can sell insurance products in a very effective manner. So both parties could have done it. So I didn't think it was appropriate to include human resource costs in the distribution network valuation. Why not? Now I'm going to move on to identify what about the other 4 methodologies that can be used to value a distribution network. So the first method is called the excess earnings method, where you will need to identify contributory assets. That is, say, PPE, there's plant, property, equipment, brand, distribution network, human resources. So you'll have to identify these contributory assets and come up with a number to come at the valuation. I didn't want to do this because I didn't want to mix distribution network with fixed assets and do a valuation, because I wanted one number for a distribution network, and I got my number using the with and without methodology. That is why I chose not to use this method. The next method is called distributor method. This is a comparison-based method wherein you compute the profit margin of comparable distributors and then apply it to projected revenue. I chose not to use this because it is virtually impossible to find the profit margin of a distributor. They will not be willing to divulge or reveal this number. And even if they do so, you will have to justify that in your report. You cannot say, I got it based on some conversation with some distributor. So I thought it was not prudent to include this method. The next method is a greenfield method. I did consider this very seriously and intensively to see whether it can be applied, because the assumption is very appropriate. It says that the sole intangible asset that needs to be valued is a distribution network. So from that perspective, it seemed to be good to use this method. But once again, I thought that the with and without method is intuitively very appealing and it's very easy to apply to this particular sector. And therefore, I did not want to use this method.
Sir, here I have one doubt.
Yeah.
Can we use this distribution network valuation for Amazon, like Hindustan
Yeah,
Lever?
I'm going to talk about Hindustan Lever.
Mhm.
I'm going to do an FMCG thing. You can use it for anything, even Pizza Hut, which has branches and networks. Amazon, which has its own. Amazon may not be very appropriate because it does not have a distribution. It sells products and it delivers it to our house, but it does not have a distribution network like insurance industry or a Pizza Hut branch or a Hindustan Unilever. So all that you can use it for many products. You can use it in India. It has a huge amount of validity and applicability.
I have got one question.
Yeah.
When insurance companies come and want to tie up with the Indian banks, it has got like 5,000 branches. Why these branches cannot themselves offer those services in some products? Because it's only a product, nothing
Correct.
else.
So the thing is that this insurance is a bit tricky, sir. When it comes to crafting the product and pricing it also, you need to have a good understanding of the terms and conditions, that sort of knowledge. That's why it's an intangible asset. You look at knowledge is a very key part of this sort of intangible asset creation. That know-how is very important. I was just reading an example a few days ago about Starbucks, the coffee chain. I believe that they have 1,200 page manual for training their staff. So this sort of training and this sort of know-how, marketing capacity, brand, human resources, these are all intangible assets, which I don't think a bank can do on its own. You will need to have good product knowledge. I have also interacted with some branch managers of banks. They may not have the sort of knowledge that they have for selling a deposit or a home loan. So I think it's very important to have this sort of a specialized product knowledge and specialized setup to sell insurance products. Thank you, sir. Finally, the next method is the royalty relief method. Here you will need to identify the hypothetical royalty payments that could have been saved from owning the asset rather than for third-party licensing, meaning it's also very tricky, as the wordings itself suggests. You will need to know the royalty rate for the owning the asset, then the royalty rate for third-party licensing, deduct one from the other, and then apply it on revenue. This is all very difficult to find in Indian context, at least from insurance perspective. So I deemed it prudent not to include this method. So what is the current state of the Indian general insurance sector? Private sector insurers, according to a recent article that I read in the Times Group, account for nearly 2/3 of the market. So around 22, 23 years ago, they entered the market with zero market share. Today, they're commanding 2/3 of the market. And I believe that this is largely due to the distribution network effect. So this has played a vital and pivotal role in helping these companies accomplish this significant achievement. And therefore, you will need to take cognizance of a distribution network and how important it is in enhancing the insurance penetration in India, which is what area of concern to regulators when the insurance sector was liberalized in 2000. Now I'm going to do a brand cum distribution network valuation. So this is based on a case study of an agrochemical company. Agrochemical companies are companies which sell and manufacture and sell fertilizers and pesticides to farmers. So when you look at, there are two aspects here that I want you all to think about and consider. The first is that there is a brand defect. So suppose you take companies such as EID Paddy, it is located products to sell to the farmers. They spend a lot of money in brand building. For instance, they hire cinema actors sometimes to market their products in rural areas. So what happens is that this brand effect has an impact not only in the price that they can charge to their customers over their unbranded product, they also can sell more of their product compared to an unbranded product. So what is an unbranded product? If you go to a village, as I did, you will see that there are many dealers in villages who will mix some chemicals, mixture of chemicals and animal waste and some hodgepodge combination they will come to, and they will sell it to a farmer. So this is the unbranded product. So the branded product will enjoy a price premium and a sales premium in terms of quantity over an unbranded product. Then there is also a working capital benefit when doing a brand cum distribution network valuation. So what happens is that because of your vast distribution network, your inventory holding period is much lesser for a branded company. So that is also be factored in this valuation. So how to compute the brand premium? So let us assume, for the sake of this example, that the price of the branded product is rupees 200 per unit. And the price of the unbranded product, that is what the farmer buys from a local dealer in a village, is rupees 100 per unit. The difference, 200 minus 100 is 100 is the brand premium or the price premium. But the branded company will also be spending a lot of money in terms of advertisement, sales promotion, brand promotion, and the like. So they will be getting higher sales also in quantity terms. So they may be selling 20,000 units compared to only 10,000 units by the unbranded product. So the difference 10,000 is the quantity differential. And what is revenue? It is price multiplied by quantity. So price premium is 100 multiplied by quantity premium is 10,000, which works out to 10 lakh rupees for the first year. For the second year, if you have 220 rupees as the price per unit, and the 100 rupees as the unbranded price, then the price premium is 115 rupees. That is 220 minus the difference. So this multiplied by 10,000 will work out to 11.5 lakhs. So in this way, you can compute the brand premium for each year. What are the working capital benefits? So now, because you have a vast and a large distribution network, you can sell your products much more quickly and rapidly compared to the unbranded product. So suppose you assume that the inventory holding period is 2.5 months for the unbranded product, and for the branded company, it is only 1 month. Then 1.5 months is your inventory holding period advantage. So that 1.5 divided by 12, because there are 12 months in a year, is multiplied with the total revenue earned by the company to arrive at the inventory holding period difference. So for year 1, it will be it means 200 units, 200 rupees per unit multiplied by 20,000 units into 1.5, which works out to 5 lakh rupees. So for the second year, you have 220 rupees per unit multiplied by 20,000. So in this way, you can compute it for the next 3 years. Now, please, if you want me to explain this concept again, I'm more than happy to do so. So please let me know through the chat box or through voice, and let me know whether you want me to explain these numbers again. Yeah. So now let us assume that for year one, 200 rupees per unit is the brand premium that is you're getting from selling the product. And you also are able to sell 20,000 units. So the total revenue that you get is 200 is 200 multiplied by 20,000, which is 40 lakh rupees. 40 lakhs into 1.5 by 12 works out to 5 lakh rupees for year one. Now for the second year, you have brand premium works out to is 115 that we know. The 220 rupees is the price that he's selling the product. That is multiplied by 20,000 units to get 44 lakh rupees. 220 to 20,000 is 44 lakh. That you multiply that with 1.5, that is your inventory holding period difference advantage, divided by 12 to arrive at a figure of 5.5 lakh rupees. So similarly, you can do it for the next 3 years also. I will be sharing the PPT with Bangalore Valuers Association, so you can have a look at all these numbers. And if you have any doubts, please reach out to me. My contact details are given at the end of the presentation. I'll be more than happy to explain this using an Excel template also. So putting it all together, once again, all figures are in rupees except the discount factors. This is the valuation. So for year one, revenue differential was 10 lakh rupees. The inventory benefit was 5 lakh rupees. If I add up both these numbers, 10 lakhs plus 5 lakhs, you get 15 lakh rupees, which is your total benefit. Then you deduct tax at 30% to arrive at the post-tax benefit, which works out to 10.5 lakhs for year one. Then you apply a discount rate, this WACC of I've assumed 10% to compute the discount factor for each year. Then you multiply the discount factor with the total benefit for each year, that is a post-tax benefit, to arrive at the present value of total benefit for each year. Then you add up these numbers, you will get the brand cum distribution network premium of 56.33 lakh rupees. Yes, sir.
Are you comparing the distribution, whatever you are doing, with the comparable company?
Yeah. Yes. That 1.5 is the difference. Like I said, see, suppose the unbranded, the local dealer, fertilizer dealer takes 2.5 months to get his inventory out of his balance sheet. But your company, because of your superior distribution network, your brand, you have so many advantages. You take only 1 month to get your inventory out of your balance sheet. 1.5 months is 2.5 minus 1. That becomes your inventory holding period advantage. No. Thank you, sir. So now I do a two-part sensitivity analysis, just like I did for the distribution network valuation. Here, life is much more simpler because you only have two variables that I'm talking about. One is brand price premium, other is inventory holding benefit. So I assume that brand price premium ranges from 100, which is the base case, till 175 rupees. I assume that inventory holding benefit ranges from 5 lakh rupees, which is the base case number, to 8 lakh rupees. I do simulations and sensitivities to arrive at these different numbers. So what is the utility or usefulness of doing this sort of evaluation? So like sir here was asking me, can you use it for other industries also? So here what we're doing is computing the value add of the company which has both a brand and a distribution network with another company which has neither. So if you have this sort of a situation where one company has neither and wants to get into an alliance with company as both, suppose they come to you and they ask you, how do we compute any consideration? We want money because I have a brand, I have a distribution network that my counterparty has neither. So how do I compute this? Then you can use this method to compute the value of the consideration that needs to be transferred from one party to another. So now, fast-moving consumer goods like such as soaps, shampoos, they also compete with unbranded products in villages. They also need a strong distribution network. So you can apply this template that I've given to this sort of evaluation also. Because here having a distribution network valuation will be very useful and very critical in determining the value proposition offered by the firm which owns both the distribution network and brand. So FMCG companies also, you can use this sort of a method. Now, the last point is suppliers or sundry creditors. Some of you here may be wondering if there is an advantage there also, because the three components of working capital are inventory, debtors, and creditors. I spoke about debtors in my insurance case study. I spoke about inventory in my agrochemical case study. But what about sundry creditors? So who are sundry creditors? These are people who are extending credit by they sell raw materials to a manufacturer who uses this raw material to make a finished good. So they're giving credit for say 2 months or 1 month. Now, because this company, your client, enjoys a strong distribution network and brand, he may be able to extend 1 month. So 1 month again becomes your advantage that you have. So if you think that that is there, that value level is there in your client's business, then by all means, please apply it and do the evaluation. But I have not used it in the insurance case study because it was not applicable. It was not relevant in the agrochemical case, but the concept remains the same. So looking forward, this you would have all realized by now that you need a lot of expertise in finance, accounting, economics, and business analysis to do a distribution network valuation. And we are all perfectly positioned to do this sort of valuation because we possess these skill sets in abundance. So these sort of valuations will spell an ocean of opportunities to valuers such as yourself. And I was just telling my friend, Mr. Shiva Prasad, yesterday, you cannot keep on doing DCF for companies all the time. You will need to diversify your offerings to your clients so that you can sell new products and get good business and get a very good name in the market. You will enjoy a lot of goodwill because you will tell a client, you have a working capital advantage here. Why don't you factor that also in your valuation? See if you can use that to sell your value proposition to some company which doesn't have it. So you can use this sort of ideas that come from this distribution network valuation to market it. And suppose if you look at the Microsoft balance sheet of 2006, you will notice there that $70 billion was the total asset size. Out of this, $60 billion was cash and financial assets and some intangible assets. Only a few billions of dollars was for tangible assets such as plant, property, and equipment. So the world is changing. We are moving away from tangible assets to intangible assets also. So distribution network, which has a brand, which has marketable relationships, customer relationships, and so on and so forth, constitutes a very important intangible asset that you can value to, because we are moving from a manufacturing economy to a knowledge-based economy. So knowledge in the form of your technical know-how, your patents, your distribution network will all play a pivotal role in doing a valuation. I would like to conclude by quoting an EY, that is an Ernst & Young purchase price allocation study, which said that the allocation of value, I quote, to the dealer network is amongst the lowest, implying that it is not a key driver for acquisitions, though considered a key element for many industries. So what this quotation is basically saying is that when an M&A deal happens, distribution network is not being considered. But I hope with passage of time, with the efforts of all of us, the distribution network will also be considered in the valuation, because after all, it is a very important asset, an intangible asset that adds value. With that, I would like to close the presentation. Thank you for your time and consideration. I would like to open the floor to further questions.
Sir, do you have any practical calculations or
I have.
method? Can you show us?
I can,
Please.
how to share my Excel?
Yes. You open, sir, first. Share screen only it is there, just you open it. You open the Excel.
Can you see it, sir, now?
Open it.
Presently, your screen is not shared.
Okay.
Yes.
Now what will you show? Yeah, I did that. Open system preferences. This Excel has to come. Later we can see.
In the meantime, Shilpa.
Sir, I have a doubt. Sir, can I raise a question here?
Yeah, actually, I think the speaker is taking the file.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Please ask your questions, sir. More than happy to answer it, sir.
Sir, see in this era of D2C brands, direct to company, and the better logistic arrangements now in place in India. You have a next day delivery or maximum a day after delivery, right? So now most of the companies are following a model of having centralized huge warehouses, right? At north, northeast, they have a regional warehouses, huge warehouses, and they deliver the goods from those warehouses, and because of that, they have a low inventory model, and better distribution model in the sense.
Correct.
You know, Jindal Steel has opened their SME portal, giving jitters to their large dealer networks that we will supply directly to SMEs, right? Don't you think this distribution and EY itself said, you have shown that PPA EY research study that people are not giving in acquisitions, distribution networks are not getting that allocation value. So don't you think this distribution model, considering the rise of D2C brands and better logistic arrangements, is fading, and less value is now getting allocated to distribution network?
Sir, I just want to point out that there is some industry to industry, sir. In your
Your voice is breaking.
But if you look at other industries, they don't have this sort of a zero inventory model. So those parameters are not applicable in some industries. And one to its customer's house, there you need to have a distribution network to keep that inventory close to that customer's house also. So I don't think you can say, because we also thought when this automation was happening, many jobs would be lost. But that's not happening, is it? So similarly, I don't think a distribution network, I agree with your point that EY study says it. That's why I also quoted it. But I just want, my case is that it's very important, and you need to have customer relationships. If you have D2C, I agree that some part of it will go away, but there are many businesses which are not D2C. So they will need a distribution network. So that's my understanding, at least for the next 5-10 years.
So the insurance industry used to have a huge distribution networks like LIC agents at every place. Now, with Policy Bazaar, Blue FinTech, Turtle Mint, Orange, all they are using tech, they're doing the D2C. Then you have FMCG companies, right? HUL, these are also now, D2C companies are giving jitters to these FMCG companies. Because of, better logistic arrangements, you have a next day delivery. You click You
Correct.
book an order on Agio, you book an order on JioMart, anywhere, the next day delivery happens. So, okay, I mean, I got your point.
Yeah.
It might be applicable. See, I see its application in business correspondent networks.
Yeah.
BC network, which banks, still have in rural untapped areas, where ATMs are not there. These people are not much literate how to use ATMs. These BC peoples go to, rural people and, act as their ATMs or, doing the banking activities,
Correct.
because we have one client which is doing this and they are making good money. That network is their key,
Correct. But sir, the
And
network is not just the branch, sir. That's the point I would like to highlight. See, an intangible asset by definition has four important characteristics. It's a sunk cost, it has spillover, scalability, and synergy. So these are four aspects that a distribution network all brings together.
Okay, sunk
Why does
cost.
State Bank going to have more than 22 sunk costs, sir? Because it is like suppose you have a mine and you have to use some specialized equipment to operate that mine. Suddenly, what happens some days that say this mine, they want to close the mine down. You can't sell that equipment, only scrap value, only that specialized equipment can be sold at. Because that equipment is very specialized, it will not get a market value. So there is a sunk cost aspect of a distribution network, sir.
Right. So this BC network people also have that machine in which they have invested. They have certain equipments. Those have been purchased regardless of, how much volume they will get. So that is a sunk cost for them, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And you also have like spillover effect with an intangible asset. Then you have scalability. Like Coke has a secret formula as an ingredient for its Coke drink. It's a very secretive thing. Nobody knows. Very few people know the formula. But if you look at Coke's model, that's why they call it scalability. That if you look at it, all the bottling operations and all, they outsource it to bottlers. This formula alone, they protect it very preciously and they get all their money out of it. Bottling, they outsource it. So that sort of having this sort of advantage that it has when it comes to scalability that distribution network can give. And customer relationships, you cannot build without a distribution network. I also spoke at the beginning of the presentation about policybazaar.com. So there also, you can do it, but claim settlement and all, every industry, it has its own value chain and dynamics. So if you look at it that way, in some industries, dealer network will be very important over a long span of time, despite the technological disruption.
Certainly, sir. Customer relations and face-to-face relations does carry a value. So did your presentation cover that customer relationships?
Yeah, customer relationships all get captured in this working capital benefits, additional income, cost benefits, everywhere it will get captured, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your question.
Sir, when we are doing this distribution network, you said it's not for the company as a whole, it's only for the distribution network. So now when we are arriving at the VAT, for instance, and in a case of a joint venture, I am as a local partner, I'm not investing anything because I already have my network. So what is the capital which you are going to consider in
see, when they came into being, there was a rule, if I'm not mistaken, insurance companies, 74% had to be held by the Indian partner and 26% by the foreign insurer. So 3:1 is a debt equity, approximately. 74 to 26 is 3:1 approximately. That becomes a debt equity ratio and that becomes the valuation. So now can I share the Excel file?
It is shared, sir.
Yeah. Can I explain it now?
Yeah.
So suppose you take the distribution network valuation only, not the distribution will come to that. So what happens is that for the first year, I make 1.2 lakhs. I've said that. And for the next 4 years also, I make 1.2 lakh rupees. Then promotion cost, I've assumed this is an advantage that you have. Like I said, the company does not have to spend it. Because now you already have a Bajaj with you, already has a big brand. You don't need to spend that money. So 5 lakhs, I'm saving there. Sales and marketing, I'm saving another 2.5 lakhs. Credit appraisal, I'm saving 3.3 lakhs. So this total savings is 10.5 lakhs for the cost savings. Then I move on to CapEx thing. So new branches have 20 new branches. I multiply that with the capex per new branch, which is 2 lakh rupees. That works out to 40 lakh rupees. Then working capital benefit I have 1 month, 1 month of additional income, that is 10,000 rupees. If I add up all these numbers, I get 51.8 lakh rupees. So what is 51.8 lakhs? 1.2 plus 5 plus 2.5 plus 3 plus 40 plus 10,000. That works out to 51.8 lakh rupees. Then you have to deduct tax at 30%, because that is an effective tax rate. You have to deduct that. Then that will come to 15.54 lakhs. Then I get a post-tax value of cash flow, which works out to 36.26 lakhs per year. Factor of 12%. So I compute the factor, which is 1 divided by 1.12 for year 1, 1 divided by 1.12, the whole squared for year 2, and I use the formula. Then I multiply this discount factor with the post-tax value of cash flow to arrive at the present value of cash flow for each year. And I add up this number to come up with the valuation. Please let me know.
Yeah.
Please.
So any report you can show to us which you have prepared on?
No, I have not done. I don't have access to a report. I don't have. But I will share this also. Whenever you have time, please reach out to me. We can discuss it over the WhatsApp or
Mr. Jaideep,
Yes, madam.
still you will explain, or can the participants raise the queries?
Yeah, they can please raise as many queries. If you want to, I can explain the brand come distribution network valuation again also. Whatever the participant wants, I'm willing to do.
You can also share 5 minutes this Excel, First sheet you have told, other sheets also you want to share. It's more or less covered, no?
Yes, I want to share this sheet also. Yes, it's more or less covered, madam.
You can explain other sheets.
Yeah.
Also.
So now if you take for the brand come distribution network valuation, so you have two parts that you have to assess and analyze here. One is the brand effect. The other is the inventory holding period, the advantage that you get. So suppose for the price of the unbranded product in year 1 is 200 rupees per unit, and the price of the unbranded product is 100 rupees per unit. The differential is 100 rupees. So that is the price premium. Because like I already said, if you have a brand, you can charge. So that is my first advantage. And I'm also spending lots of money on advertisement campaigns, sales promotion, brand building, and all that. So that I'll get some quantity benefit also. So if I sell 20,000 units on my own, compared to a competitor who does not have a brand, he sells it at 10,000 units. So 20,000 minus 10,000 works out to 10,000. So now if you want to compute the total revenue advantage, what is total revenue? Price multiplied by quantity. So 100 rupees multiplied by 10,000 works out to 10 lakh rupees. Now, moving on to working capital benefit, that is inventory holding period. So now I assume that you have your inventory, that the unbranded product, he takes 2.5 months to sell his product. But the branded product can sell its product in 1 month itself. So 1.5 months becomes the advantage that I have. So 1.5 by 12 multiplied by 10 lakhs will work out to 5 lakh rupees. So that is how I've done this calculation. And I add up these numbers to get 15 lakhs for year 1, deduct tax at 30%, and then compute the discount rate, which is 10% WAC, works out to 0.83 for the first year and the like. Then I do it and I get the valuation.
So when I get the different values, distribution network model and my DCF method, which one I need to take?
So distribution network itself is only DCF only. Yeah. Because if you're doing a cash flows, you're calculating for 5 years for each of the 5 years. You can assume a weighted average cost of capital to bring back to around present value. That is your valuation.
But you are restricted here only 5 years.
Yeah, that's how see that from you have to talk to the client. If it is a business, see, when you're doing a DCF, you look at what they call the explicit 5 years, because that is a business cycle. They say, if your industry is such as only 3 years or 7 years, you will have to talk to your client. And
no, you can do indefinite value.
Perpetuity also you can take. Very good question. I'll tell you why I did not take perpetuity. Because up to 5 years, you will have an advantage. but you cannot say perpetually the foreign player will be at a disadvantage to you. 10 years later, he can also create some sort of, he may not have 22,000 and odd branches like State Bank of India, but he can create a good distribution network. So I didn't want to take perpetuity because of that reason. But in a DCF, when you're doing enterprise value, you have to take perpetuity. You all know that. That is why I said in the beginning also, this is not a free cash flow to firm or a free cash flow to equity valuation. It is a distribution network valuation.
There is one more query.
Yeah,
so
please.
if it is along with the distribution network, customer relationship out.
You can add that also.
No, it takes. So then, suppose in the deal was happened, while doing the purchase price allocation, how we are going to split it among the distribution network?
That is when you have to use that contributory asset method. You'll have to use. Yeah, you'll have to use it. Yeah, you have to do it.
But
it becomes very tricky. That is why.
Either customer relationship or a distribution network.
Yeah, it's very difficult. That's why
the reason the EY suggested.
Yeah.
Everybody is moving relationship rather than
correct. I hope it will change in the future. That is what my hope is. Correct. All related to each other.
So which one is the primary asset we have to
You can look at excess earnings, that contributory asset method you can use.
But only the challenging any one method you can use.
Yeah, I say that also. See, when we do a company valuation, they tell us you have to use 2 or more methods. They tell us that. But here, the issue here is I was not very comfortable and I wanted it to be very simple and easy to understand. So the client will also be happy with it. I can use big methods, jargon, I can use, say, royalty, but where are the numbers? I cannot get my numbers at all. And comms also, I was not happy. This agrochemical, I can get some comparisons I can get. But from the insurance at that point, there were no comms. How will I do a market approach? That is why I thought. I've got this question from Mr. Ravi Jain. How should we consider the contractual arrangement of distribution partner, like in MF partners, empanel with more than one? So that is why I said the bank assurance model that I spoke about, Bank of India and Bajaj Allianz. So there also, there is very good point that he says, there also you have to do you can do a distribution network valuation, because in mutual funds, you need to have a very strong distribution network to penetrate and meet with the customer needs. And you need to have lots of know-how also to knowing of what the customer wants and building a customer relationship. So there also, it's you can use the bank assurance way, because the commission will have to be determined. So commission determination, this sort of a template may be very useful.
Mr. Jaideep, one final question. Okay.
Yeah.
This discount rate, any specific thing, or is just, like
normal formula, madam. That same WACC, beta, you have to unlever and relever it. Then multiply with the equity market, the same method, madam. Nothing very distinct from a WACC perspective for a distribution network valuation.
Okay.
But please make sure to unlever and relever the beta.
Okay.
Because you'll be taking it from moneycontrol.com. That will take cognizance of the debt equity capital structure of that company. So you'll have to unlever it first using the formula which you must be aware of, and then relever it back using another formula to get the beta.
Just one small example unrelated to this point. Okay. If
yes,
we
madam.
Unlevered beta.
Your voice is breaking, madam.
Is it anywhere better now?
Yes, slightly better. Yeah, please go ahead, madam.
If we have unlevered beta, okay, and our company doesn't have any debt, so we can straight away use this unlevered beta, right?
That is correct. Yeah, you don't need to. You're absolutely right, because debt equity is 0. Only 100% equity.
Yeah. I would like to conclude today's session. Mr. Subbarao, I request Mr. Subbarao to convey a vote of thanks on behalf of Bangalore Valuers Association.
Just only one question. How to arrive at the sales quantity with and without?
Can you be a bit louder, sir?
How to arrive at the
sales
quantity with and without brand? Sales quantity.
So, sir,
I think you can.
Yeah, sir, when you're doing the quantity differential, you'll have to sit with your client. The client will have projections for his numbers. Then you'll have to do some market research, find out what is the kind of numbers the unbranded company is selling at. So that you'll do some market research, some detailed research methods you'll have to adopt. So you can use that to get the unbranded person's sales. Then you deduct one from the other to get the quantity differential.
Jaideep, just one final question. When you consider this premium for the brand, so why you have not netted off the expense for the branding expense that I'll incur?
Yeah, you can net it off, but like I said, no, if the company, both companies may have both willing to incur their expense. If you want to, you can do that also. That's a suggestion that I would take. Thank you as a constructive feedback. You can use that also. It's not an issue. It can be incorporated in the valuation. But for me, the main point that I want to highlight in the brand cum distribution network was the kind of premium and the working capital advantage. But the cost also, of course, you can take cognizance of the cost benefits and do it, which I did in the distribution network valuation on a standalone basis. That can be done.
Thank you.
And I got this question from Mr. Qazi M. Riyazuddin asking for contact number and email. It's there at the end of the presentation that BVA will be sharing with all of you.
Yeah. Would you like to share your last screen if possible?
Presentation.
No, it's not there.
Yeah. No, Shilpa, we will share that presentation in.
Subbarao, on behalf of Bangalore Valuers Association, I
Group,
request
okay,
you to extend vote of thanks for our today's speaker.
Your address and contact detail, Mr. Chakravarthy.
Yes, it'll be there, sir. Everything will be there.
You can give in the chat.
I'll put it in the chat box now itself.
Yeah, and Mr. Jaideep, from your laptop, you can switch on the video.
Okay, sure.
And stop sharing the mute.
Yeah, you can stop share also.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Subbarao, can you extend vote of thanks for today's speaker? You'll have to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Shilpa. It is my great pleasure.
Both places you have muted yourself. One place you can unmute.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Shilpa. It's my great pleasure to give vote of thanks for today's session, distribution network valuation. And when we got to know that distribution network valuation, okay, it is like a new concept for everyone. And till now, what we have seen is like DCF method or market comparable method or net asset value method. And even as a valuer, we did not think about this like banking valuation or Bajaj Finance or Pizza Hut or Amazon like this, okay, Hindustan Lever. And okay, this it is an eye opener for everyone. Okay, we have to think about all these things. Okay, not only the DCF method, okay, which is very, very useful for us. And in when the startups like there are Vola, like Uber, Zepto, whatever you said, okay, distribution network is a very, very important model. Okay, maybe there is a lot of research may be required into this method, and even international valuation standards also. Okay, maybe it is not mentioned. I don't think so. It's mentioned or not. Okay, lot of research has to be happened, and okay, it's very useful. Okay, and thank you very much, Jaideep. Okay, for enlightening us. Okay, especially Bangalore Value Association members. Okay, with a new model, distribution network valuation, and where you have covered. Okay, like entire all methods like relief from royalty method or credit appraisal, calculating cost savings, and brand and distribution methods, okay, like human resource cost, which is okay, we have to see all those things even in the normal methods also, and especially in distribution network method, okay, which the India is growing, okay, like in the startup or okay in the unicorn. This is a very, very useful method. Okay, at least when we are going to do the valuation, not only the DCF, okay, we can talk to the client, this type of methods, which is very, very useful. And on behalf of Bangalore Value Association, we really thank you, Jaideep, for taking this session, and okay, the preparation what you have done, okay, almost 70 slides and that Excel sheet, okay, it is a very excellent one. And also, I thank Ravindranath for arranging this session, okay, with the speaker and arranging the speaker, as well as okay, arranging that physical session. We are at Rajaji Nagar, Karnataka Chartered Accountant Association, and thank you, Ravi. And also thank you, Shilpa, for arranging nice sessions as usual by Bangalore Valor Association. And we are looking more okay, enlightening sessions from Bangalore Valor Association. And also, okay, the small announcement, whatever you made, okay, at the start of the session, where we are going to meet, okay, December 15th and 16th, okay, physical session, valuation month and 2023. I request, okay, everyone to participate in the physical session, okay, which is going to be very useful, and we are going to get 10 CP credit hours, 12 CP credit hours, and again this valuation month, and okay, across India, pan India basis.
Just wanted to tell in this today's hybrid session, we 8 people have
Not
come
only
here. We just want to showcase
land and
everybody can
and
say hi.
planted
We enjoyed the session, physical session. So I'm looking forward whenever we invite for physical session, more such people to participate. We can have a better bonding and understanding and networking. And after this session, we are all going to have breakfast and coffee with the speaker. Even that's an experience by itself. Thank you.
And special thanks to Mr. Shiv Prasad for referring, Mr. Jaideep to our association. And thank you so much, Mr. Jaideep. Such a tough topic. You made it look so light and so easy and, so understandable. I'm really thankful to you for enlightening us on this topic. I shall end this session.